5 wagons grope blindly for the path on a starless night, their master glancing ever upward to the skies for assurance that he is on the right course. A dim lantern his only protection against the encroaching darkness. But the skies bring no comfort, shining no light, betraying no hint of what they know. The caravan carries travelers bound for the frontier hamlet of Gilded Vale, you among them, where a local lord has offered land and wealth to settlers from abroad looking for a fresh start. You have taken suddenly ill, sweating and shivering, and one of the other travelers signals for the caravan master to stop on your behalf. He pulls up just in time to avoid plowing into the trunk of a fallen tree that bars the way ahead. You will go no further tonight.
Hello everyone, welcome to Dumpstate Wisdom. In this video, we'll be going through the character creation of a wizard. We're playing on Path of the Dam difficulty. I will show what are the best starting attributes, race, and spells that you can pick up, as well as we'll play through the starting prologue dungeon just to showcase the gameplay. The first choice you have to make is either male or female. This frankly doesn't matter because both male and female will have the same options. There are no specific dialogue options for male or female, and there are no romances in Pillars of Eternity 1. So this is basically just a cosmetic change. Races, we have a human, omnivore, dwarf, elf, Orlan, and godlike. I like to build my wizards or basically any caster as an elf, because as an elf you can start with 20 perception, which will give you a massive plus 10 to accuracy. This is very important because spellcasters normally have low accuracy, especially wizards, they have very low accuracy. So starting with that plus 10 perception, plus 10 accuracy will help a lot at the lower levels. But frankly, you can pick any race that you want. I normally go with the elf. Another good race is godlike, because they start with plus 1 in intellect. So you can start with 20 intellect, which will give you a huge bonus to your AoE radius. But the godlike cannot equip any headgear, so that might restrict in some of the gear that you can equip them. Another good race, basically you can pick up anything, but I normally go with elf. And wood elf will give you bonus to accuracy and your defenses when you're attacking an enemy who is away from you. So if you're trying to build a wizard who stays at the back line and just attacks with wands or scepters and then throws spells, then wood elf is the best race for you. uh, Pale elf will give you like elemental damage resistance for burn and freeze damage, which is very useful in the lower levels because you're going to be fighting a lot of shades which does cold damage. So a pale elf wizard casting buffing up his damage resistance using spells is going to be a great tank against shades at low level. But these bonuses are not that big of a deal. You can go with either of them. So if you are a caster, then the accuracy bonus is going to be really useful for you. Otherwise, just go with pale elf. I go with pale elf just because I like the way they look. And our class is going to be wizard. So let's take a look at wizard abilities here. Uh, we start with something called Arcane Assault, which is a minor AoE area of affected damage spell, which will apply dazed effect on enemies. It's not that powerful of an effect, but it does raw damage, which means it will ignore all of enemies' damage resistance. So you can use it twice every encounter, so it's a decent damage that you can just spam at the beginning of every combat encounter. So it's a at later levels when you have highly buffed your attributes, you have high might and high intelligence. this will do very good damage, but at lower levels it's not that great. And we get +2 to lore. Lore is a very important attribute in this game if you are focusing on if you are trying to make a heavy dialogue oriented character. If you are interested in unlocking various dialogue options, lore is very good. So lore has the highest number of dialogue options of all the skills. And mechanics, actually wizards make decent lockpickers and trappers because of this +1 to mechanics. If you pair this with any background that gives you a bonus to mechanics, you can start with +2, which will really help. So wizards actually are very good at mechanics to have as a. This is because normally if you are trying to build a rogue or a cipher or something who has a higher mechanics, the thing is they attack most of the time with their weapons, which in part of the damn difficulty you are going to require a lot of accuracy boost to be able to hit your enemies, and so your rogues would make more use of survival skill instead of mechanics. But your wizards attack wizards and priests, these casters, druid, their spells do not gain any accuracy bonus from your survival skill. So you can completely ignore your survival skill on these classes and instead focus on mechanics, which will be very useful, especially at low levels, because you don't get a good lockpicker until mid game. So that, yeah, wizards have very low endurance, low health, again very low accuracy, very low defense. Basically their stats are all very low. So if an enemy looks at your wizard and he doesn't have any buffs he can cast, then he's going to die very very fast. And he also has very low accuracy, which means his attacks are going to miss a lot unless you buff his accuracy. So that's why we want to start with 20 perception to get a +10 to accuracy to offset this. Okay. Now here if you see there is endurance and health. So there are two health bars in this game. This will be confusing for those who are new to Pillars game. But basically endurance is your health bar, which let's say you have two health bars here. The first one is endurance. If endurance goes to 0, your character gets knocked out. And if the rest of your team wins the combat encounter, then you will get back up, no problem. Okay, and the endurance will refill. But your health goes back to 0. Your character is dead. There is an option you can enable called miming, in which case the first time health drops to dead, your character will get an injury or something, and the second time their health drops to 0, the character will die. So endurance is the health bar you have for that particular combat encounter. If you win it, you will get all your endurance back. Health is your permanent health bar. If health goes to 0, your character is going to get killed permanently. So this is a bit confusing for new players, but as we play through, I will show the difference between the two stats. So we're picking wizard here, and next. Now spells. You can pick 4 first level spells. Uh, there are a lot of damage dealing spells here like Fan of Flames or Ghost Blade, so you might be tempted to pick something like this. But in this game, the damage of spells is very mediocre. If you have a spell and all it does is just do some damage and it doesn't apply any debuff, any crowd control or anything on the enemy, then it's a waste of a spell slot because spell damage is very very weak. What you want to focus on are spells that can apply some status effects on your enemies. Wizard is really good at applying status effects because he has some of the best crowd control abilities in the game. So if you want to just do damage by spamming spells, you are better off playing a druid rather than a wizard. Wizards are the best at buffing themselves up and crowd controlling enemies. So that's the party role you want your wizards to play as. If you want to buff the rest of the party, you should be playing a priest, and if you want to uh, do a lot of damage by spamming damage dealing spells, you should probably go play a druid. As a wizard, you want to focus on crowd control. And the best crowd control spell at level 1, and arguably one of the best spells your wizard will use even at the end game, is Chill Fog. If you are having a tough time defeating enemies in this game on on any difficulty, just have your wizard cast a couple of Chill Fogs and the combat encounter will end. So what does Chill Fog do? So it's a first level wizard spell. Speed is average, which means it will take a couple of seconds for the wizard to actually cast this spell. So there is a chance that he might get interrupted. So this is not something you want to be casting while you are in the middle of the combat, surrounded by enemies. Okay, so uh, yeah, take care of that. And the range is 10 meters, so you can cast it at a fairly distant range, 2.5 meters of radius, and it lasts for 15 seconds. And interrupt. So every time this spell hits, it lasts for 15 seconds. See, and it does damage every 3 seconds. Sorry, every second or something. So whenever it damages an enemy, it has a chance to interrupt them, which means the enemy will not be able to take any action. If the enemy is about to cast a spell or drink a potion or something, they will get interrupted and that spell is lost for them. So interrupt is a very uh, it's not the best mechanic in the game to focus on, but wizards have a lot of spells that will constantly interrupt their enemies. So interrupt is something uh, to focus on when you're building a crowd control wizard. In the rest of the classes like priest or druid or any other casters, you will just ignore interrupt because it's not that great of a mechanic. But for a wizard, interrupt is very good. So this will interrupt them. And what does it does is it does 12 to 9 points of freeze damage. Now this damage is decent. Like at low levels, it hits really hard, but by mid to late game, this damage will fall off because your enemies will be having hundreds of points of health, and this damage will just not cut it. What you're mainly here for is the status effect of blinded. So what blind does is, if your enemy is blinded, their accuracy is reduced by 25, which is huge. So if your enemy is blinded, they will not be able to hit you well. So if uh, especially if you are a tank, if you have a high deflection, then your enemies will constantly miss or graze you. They will not be able to hit you at all. This is very, very huge. Accuracy reduced by 25 points. That debuff is the reason why blinded is overpowered at low to mid levels and even useful at higher levels. Their perception is reduced by 4, so that will again reduce their accuracy by another -4. So this will overall reduce enemy accuracy by -29, which is really huge. Enemies will not be able to hit you at all if they are blinded. Now movement speed is reduced by 2, this is whatever, and reflex and deflection are reduced by 20. So there are 4 different defenses in this game. Deflection is a deflection, reflex, fortitude, and will. So basically, deflection is their ability to dodge your attacks, mostly your weapon attacks, but there are few spells which target deflection as well. So this spell reduces enemy's deflection by 20 points, which means the rest of your party will be able to hit the enemy. Okay, and it reduces the reflex by 20. So reflex is a defense which is normally targeted by area spells that cause damage dealing spells. So the rest of your druids and your priest nukes will hit harder because their reflex is reduced by 20. So if you blind an enemy, they can't hit you, but you will hit them harder. And at low levels, this is very, very useful. And if you see here, right, so it's blinded versus fortitude. So this will attack enemies fortitude, which means enemies will get to make a fortitude saving throw, and if they were successful, they will not be affected by this spell, but if they fail their saving throw, depending upon whether it's miss, graze, or a hit, okay, they will get affected by this damage and the blind. And the thing about this is, this spell will go off every 3 seconds or something, and it lasts for 15 seconds. So if on the first hit, if the enemy resists this, again after 3 seconds they're going to get hit again and again and again. It's going to do the same for 15 seconds, and this is going to be doing in a 2.5 meter radius, which is a very decent area of effect. So you're going to be hitting a huge bunch of enemies, and they are going to be hitting them again and again and again for 15 seconds, which means chances are at least a few, every one of them, or most of them will get blinded at least once. Which this is very powerful. If you are having trouble surviving in encounters where there are a lot of enemies swarming you, try throwing a couple of chill fogs on them, and these stack upon each other. So if you throw 2 chill fogs, the enemy is going to get hit twice. Each will proc its own damage, its own blinded status effect. So the enemy cannot get blinded twice. If enemy is blinded and you apply blind against him again, it will just replace the other. But if you just stack chill fogs, like 2, 3 chill fogs on top of each other over a group of enemies, they are just going to die within seconds. It's a very overpowered spell for level 1, and this will carry you all the way through mid game until you get some of the better spells like Gaze of Adragan, or there is another Confusion. So those kind of really powerful crowd control spells. Until you unlock those spells, Chill Fog is going to be your bread and butter. If you are not picking Chill Fog for your wizard, you are just going to make life very difficult for you, especially on Path of the Damned. One thing to be careful is this will do friendly fire, so just make sure that you don't hit your front line with this, because if your front line gets blinded, they are going to die very fast at low levels. And the second spell I would recommend you picking up is Consulhurt's Parasitic Staff. So what this does is, it will summon a staff for 45 seconds. Staffs are two-handed weapons. So if you have any talents that affect two-handed weapons, any equipment that affect two-handed weapons, all those buffs will be applied to the staff as well. And frankly, this spell is another overpowered spell. Like for level 1, wizards have some really great, they start with some really great stuff that will make, like, there are a couple of spells at level 1. If you cast those spells, you are going to win the encounter at up to mid game. After that, they will start falling off in usefulness, but at early to mid game, there are some really overpowered spells that wizards get. And Consulhurt's Parasitic Staff is one such spell. Let's look at what it does. Yeah. So it's a quarterstaff, two-handed, and it attacks very slow. So this is a very slow attack, but that's fine. Okay, its range is 1.75 meters. So this range is very, very important. If the range is more than 1 meter, it means you don't have to be in the melee range of your enemies. If you can stand behind your tank and still be able to hit your enemies if your weapon's range is long. So at 1.75 meters, you can safely stay at the second line of the battle, let your tanks engage the enemies, and you can stay behind them and just hit enemies with this. And it has a very strong interrupt of 0.75 seconds. So with high perception, you are going to be interrupting your enemies a lot, and it does 26 to 39 crush damage. At level 1, doing 26 to 39 damage per hit is huge. Not even rogues can do this much damage with sneak attacks at level 1. Consulhurt's Parasitic Quarterstaff does the highest single target damage at level 1. No weapon, no spell, nothing can match the damage output this causes at this level. At higher mid to late game, you will start getting legendary weapons which will do a lot of more damage. You will start enchanting your own weapons, which will again cause a lot of damage. But yeah, at low levels, this does a lot of damage, and it does crush damage. Crush damage is rarely resisted by any armor, so enemies will probably have very low damage resistance to this. So this does a lot of damage and 1.8 weapon range. Oh, sorry, I think I confused these two things. Okay, range is just the range from which you can cast the spell. 1.8 weapon reach. So this weapon reach, this is what enables you to stand behind your front lines and attack the enemies. Sorry guys, I completely confused these two things. uh, One of the problems of recording at 11 p.m. after a long weekend, but yeah. So 1.8 weapon reach, this will allow you to hit enemies from further, and it has exceptional enchantment on it, which means you get a plus 8 accuracy and plus 30% damage. This is another amazing thing, because if you want to enchant any of your weapons with this accuracy, this exceptional enchantment, I think you should have to be level 8 or something, because you start with fine enchantment at level 4, so it's around 8. So if you want to enchant a weapon with this bonuses, you will have to wait until level 8, and this staff is giving you this enchantment at level 1, and this 20% of damage restored as endurance. This is actually why this weapon is overpowered at lower level, which means if you are hitting an enemy for 26 to 39, let's say you hit for 30 points of damage on an average, so 20% of the damage is going to heal your endurance, which means if you keep attacking enemies with this, you are going to constantly heal yourself, and this is very overpowered at low levels. And if once there are a couple of buff spells here below, but once you cast your buff spells and you summon this staff, you are going to murder everybody in the battlefield. Enemies will have a really hard time killing you even at level 1. This is a really good spell. Now the third spell I recommend you take is Slicken. So what it does is it provides a oily surface on the floor, and any enemy who steps on it is going to be prone. Prone means they will just get knocked down and they will not be able to take any action. Let's look at it. Yeah, and they are going to have reduced reflex and deflection, and their dexterity is going to reduce to 2, but that's whatever. The If you see, the debuff it provides is not as powerful as blind at level 1, because blind will reduce accuracy by minus 25 and deflection by 20. Here it doesn't give any debuff to accuracy and just reduces reflex and deflection by 10. But what prone does is, once your if a character is prone, prone characters can't take action. So if an enemy is hit by this and they fail their reflex saving throw, they are going to be disabled for 4 seconds. See, if your blinded enemy can still try to attack you. A blinded enemy can still try to cast a spell. They can drink potions, they can drink consumables, they can take all actions. They will just do it greatly reduced accuracy. But prone will just completely disable them for 4 seconds. This is very useful, but you are not going to be using this much at low level because you don't have that many spells to cast, and at low level 4 seconds of disable is not that great. Because if you look at chill fog, this lasts for 15 seconds, and every few seconds it will attempt to blind them again and again and again. So this will last you for most of the combat encounter. But Slicken at low levels, just disabling an enemy for 4 seconds is not going to be that useful, because you are not powerful enough to kill the enemy in 4 seconds. You are at level 1, you are not powerful enough to kill an enemy at 4 seconds. So they are going to just get back up and kill you, and it's not that useful at level 1. But by end game, once you have high intelligence, this prone is going to last a long time. So you can disable entire groups of enemies with this for a very long time, and they will have reduced reflex and deflection, which means your fighters can go and beat the crap out of them and your spellcasters can just nuke them. And this So the one more difference between the two is, see, chill fog lasts for 15 seconds, which means if your fighters, your front line enters this area, they are going to take the freeze damage and they are going to get blinded. But Slicken is not like that. It's cached once, and when it is cached, whoever in the area of effect is going to get prone, and that's it. So sorry. So you can cache the prone, have your enemies disabled, and you can send in your frontline team who can, your rogues and your fighters who will just go and kill the enemies. So they, once the prone is triggered, your frontline can safely walk into the area. But this is more of a at around level 8 or 10 you will be you start using prone a lot, because it that's when you will need to put some hard disables on your enemies, because by then blindness will not be that useful for you. So that's when you will start using prone, but early to mid game you're not going to use this much. Spirit shield is a decent self buff. It will give you plus 3 damage reduction, which is not that useful, but it will give you plus 30 concentration, which is massive. So if you have a high concentration, your enemies will not be able to interrupt you, which is going to be very useful. But at low level, you will not have spell slots, enough spell slots to cast this, and there are a lot of spirit shield potions. There are a lot of spirit shield potions that you can drink, which will basically do the same thing. It will last for 45 seconds and give you this buff. So I don't recommend picking this up. Let's see. Yeah, here it is, Wizard's Double. So I suggest you pick this up, if not at level 1, but somewhere down the road. What it does is it gives you a massive plus 40 deflection, and it lasts as long as enemy is able to hit you. Now this spell by itself is not that great, because plus 40 deflection, I mean, your wizards have very low starting deflection. So while plus 40 might seem big, enemies will still be able to hit you, and if you get hit once, this is going to go away. That's it. Where this is useful is when you combine it with other spells and talents like Arcane Veil, which will buff your deflection further. That's when this is going to become very powerful. By end game, your wizard with all their buffs can have 200 plus deflection, which means no enemy is ever going to hit you. They are going to miss you, or if they roll really high, they are going to graze you, and graze will not do anything to dispel this. Okay, so wizards can get really high deflection temporarily through buffs, and Wizards W is going to help you a lot in getting that. So yeah, at low levels you can combine this with Arcane Veil to temporarily boost your survival, because enemies, your front line is not always going to engage all the enemies. Enemies are eventually going to come to a back lane and they're going to attack your wizard. So combining this with Arcane Veil is a great way to make sure that your wizard will not get blown into itty bitty bits at low levels. So I like taking Wizard's Double. But frankly, for the fourth spell, you can pick anything here, even some damage dealing spell like Fan of Flames. This is not great, but I mean, once you have Chill Fog and Consolidate's parasitic stuff for low levels, these two are the only spells you'll be casting at for early to mid game from your level 1 spells. And by mid game, you will have Slicken, and yeah, I will take Wizard's Double, just in those rare cases where, when an enemy tries to attack me, I would like this. And it's a very fast speed, so you will be able to cast it very fast. So this will help you survive some of the more dangerous fights. Right. So let's look at attributes. Now the game recommends very high might, very high intellect, and average dexterity, which is completely ridiculous for your wizard. Uh, because see, your wizards are not here to do damage. That's what might is. Might increases damage, all damage. both weapons and spells. And it gives some bonus to fortitude, but that doesn't really matter to us because our fortitude is already crap, and getting like +5 +8 fortitude from might is not going to help us much. Okay, uh, so your wizard's role is not doing damage. Okay, wizard's role at early to mid games you are completely focused on crowd control, and at late game you will have spells that will lower your enemy stats so much that your spells are going to constantly do critical damage, which will already give you like a massive +50% damage bonus. Might Each point of might will give like 3% extra damage and healing, so this is not that big of a deal. Okay, uh, for wizards might is not that useful, and constitution is also not useful because you have very low health, very low constitution, and buffing them up by a few percentage, like 40% more, is not going to matter much. Actually, constitution is one of the dumb steps of this game. Even on a tank, I don't recommend much constitution because you're not going to tank enemies through sheer health. So dexterity is a very powerful attribute for rest of the classes because this includes action speed, which means it includes our weapon attack speed, your spell casting speed, everything. It affects all speed. If you have high dexterity, you will be just casting spells back to back, like you can just machine gun your spells. The problem is wizards get an amazing spell at the third level spell, which you will unlock at around level 5, called Deleterious Alacrity of Motion, which will give you a huge boost to action speed, and is one of the best one of the best buffs in the game. So once you get that spell, this dexterity is not going to do much for you. Okay, like 1 point of dexterity will give you like +3%. Like if you're not a wizard, if you're a damage dealer who, like a druid, or if you are a priest, like this is going to be, or a rogue, this is going to be a very important attribute for you. But wizards can easily buff their action speed, so you don't need to put dexterity. Just leave it at 10. Next is perception. This is, in my opinion, the best attribute for wizard. Because wizards have very low accuracy, if you want your spells to hit, you will need to buff your accuracy a lot. And each point here will give you +1 to accuracy. So you can get it up to 19. Because you are an elf, you get a +1 here. Normally, if you don't have a attribute bonus, this is capped at 18. Because you are an elf, you can get up to 19 perception, which gives you 27 interrupt, which means your attacks are going to interrupt enemies a lot, which will help in crowd control. You have a +9 accuracy, which will help you offset your wizard's low accuracy, and will make sure that your spells actually land on the enemies. The +18 reflex is whatever, like it doesn't really matter to us. If enemy wizard chucks a fireball at you, you might survive it, but that's not that big of a deal. There are ways to buff it. Okay, the main thing you want interrupt is accuracy and interrupt. So the main thing you want perception is for accuracy and interrupt. And the next is intellect. Intellect is also very important to wizard. uh, or intellect is very important to you if you are going to focus on crowd control spells. If you want to just cast some self bugs, conjure the parasitic staff, and go in and just attack enemies with your staff, then 10 intellect is enough because your buffs already have a long duration. Okay, they last for 45 seconds or something. It's a very long duration. A couple of them will last you the entire fight. So area intellect is not that important if you are a melee wizard. If you are a melee wizard, I would suggest you bump some might and max perception. But if you are not a melee wizard, which is the character we're going to build here, we're trying to build a caster wizard, someone who stays at backline and flings spells. Then intellect is going to be very useful for you because each point of intellect is going to increase your spell's area of effect by 6% and a duration by 5%, which means at high levels, when you have max intellect, you can get intellect like 24 intellect or something. Your spells will cover the entire screen, and any status effects like prone, petrified you apply are going to last very very long. Okay, it increases both the area of effect and the duration of not just your offensive spells, your defensive spells as well. So any buffs you cast will also have a plus 40% duration, but it's not that big of a deal because buffs already have a very long duration. But yeah, intellect is very important. If you're a caster wizard, this is what I suggest: 19 perception and 18 intellect, and keep everything else at 10 if you're a caster wizard. If you're not a caster wizard, if you want to be a melee tank wizard tank, then get this to 10 and boost your might and maybe some dexterity. Not really. Maybe my, yeah, just max out on might for the damage. But if you are a caster wizard focusing on crowd control, you want high intellect and high perception. And resolve is a dump stat for you. Like it improves your concentration, your deflection, and will, and it's not that important for you because you're already getting high will because of your intellect, which already gives you plus 16 will, and wizards have a good will score. Okay, even their starting will is good, and you can buff your concentration and deflection from various spells like spirit shield, wizard's double. So you have buffs which will help you with all these traits. Resolve is not really useful. Resolve is generally considered as a dump stat for pretty much every build that is not trying to be a pure tank. Okay, yeah, yeah. So this is the attributes I would recommend for you: 19 perception and 18 intelligence. Let's go to next screen. And background, you can pick anything here. If you want to role play, just go through this text and pick whatever choose sounds good for you. Okay, I would suggest White Advance. Yeah, here it is. White Advance, because it gives you an extra press one perception, which will put your perception stat at 20, which is going to give a huge plus 10 accuracy, which is very very useful at early and mid game. By late game, it doesn't matter what your perception is, your priest will be able to buff you ridiculous levels of accuracy and you will be able to hit everybody. But early to mid game, having this plus 10 accuracy here is going to be very very important. So maybe at late game you can respec your character and take off the points from perception, put it in some might, or dex or whatever you want based upon the character you build. But at early to mid game, I suggest you focus heavily on perception. Okay, and backgrounds, most of this will give like a 1 or 2 points in skills. Uh, Pretty much anything is fine. These are not that big of a deal. If you want to focus a lot on dialogue, you want to have all dialogue options, like all possible dialogue options unlocked for you, because there are some dialogue options which are locked behind specific classes and races. But yeah, you will want a very high lore. Lore will let help you kind of, yeah, lore will help let you cast spells from scrolls, and it will also uh, unlock special dialogues while you're talking to NPCs. But most of these dialogue options actually overlap with intelligence, so it's not that big of a deal. If you have high intelligence, you can somewhat ignore lore. Uh, but if you want to have every single dialogue option possible for you unlocked, you will need like 11 lore. That's the highest dialogue check for lore in the game is 11 lore, which happens in, I believe it's in endless parts. Okay, but you need 11 lore for it. Okay. Uh, Drifter gives you stealth and mechanics. Stealth is useless in this game. Stealth is absolute garbage. Like it's not that useful. This is not a game where this is not like a Skyrim or some Elder Scrolls game where you can just sneak and attack enemies constantly for a lot of high damage. No, if you are engaged in combat, you will not be able to stealth. So stealth is useful for scouting, those kind of purpose, sneaking on enemies and maybe landing the initial alpha strike for high damage, but that's it. So it's a bit more useful if you are trying to play a solo, but on a party build, if you are having a full party, stealth is it's useless. It's useless. Mechanics is a very important skill. You will need one, not at least one party member who is completely dedicated to mechanics, because mechanics helps you unlock locks, the find and disarm traps, and it will also let you spot hidden items. There are a lot of items on the world which are completely hidden. Unless you have high mechanics, you will not be able to see them, and there are some really good loot in the game which you will not be able to get unless you have high mechanics. And there are a lot of traps in the game which will kill you if you don't detect and disable them. You will need to find and disable the highest level of trap in the game. You will need 14 mechanics, which is a lot of skill points needed. And unless you have a high starting bonus to mechanics, you will probably not be able to hit the cap. There are a couple of I believe there is a gloves in the game which will give you +2 mechanics, and there are a couple of scrolls which will buff your mechanics temporarily, but the scrolls are not reliable. And mechanics is a decent at skill to focus on for wizard, unless you are trying, if you are not trying to max out loud at level 11 and unlock every dialogue option. If you're, then I suggest you focus on mechanics, so that you will be able to disarm, you will be able to find and disarm every trap in the game. Okay, wizard is a good class to focus on mechanics. They do not get as much of a buff as a rogue, but that's just a +1 difference between a rogue and a wizard. So it's a decent stat. If you want, you can pick a background which will give you some mechanics. Okay, and survival. Though so survival is in this game, you will have to constantly rest to get your spells back, to heal your party members. To get health back, you will be needing to constantly heal, constantly rest. And if you have points in survival, it will let you select any kind of buff. Okay, is any buff when you're resting that will last until your next rest. So it will give you like increased damage reduction, some better healing, more accuracy kind of thing. The main reason you want to put points in survival is for accuracy versus specific creature. So this will give a very high accuracy boost to you. I guess the specific creature, you have to select what type of creature. You can either select kind of like your human normal kit, like humans, elves, or you can specify something like primordials or shades, something like that. You can specific, and whenever you attack the creature, you will get a bonus to accuracy until your next rest. The problem is this accuracy bonus applies only to weapon attacks. This will not affect your spell accuracy at all. So if you are a caster, like a priest, a wizard, or a druid, then accuracy is not going to do anything for you. It's completely useless. I mean, it will still affect your weapon attacks, but you are not going to be killing anyone with your weapons. Okay, not unless your damage, whatever you do, all your damage is going to come from spells. Okay, you are not, you will be sitting in back lines and you are just shooting enemies with your wand. That does so little damage. You are not going to be able to kill anyone. This is useful if you are focusing on conjured weapons like parasitic staff or minor blight. So conjured staffs or weapons, and conjured weapons or conjured will have the same bonuses as normal weapons. So they're going to get the bonus from accuracy, and conjured weapons do a lot of damage in this game. So if if you are a wizard who, if you're a melee wizard or someone who just conjures weapons and use that to hit your enemies, then this accuracy bonus will help you with it. But the accuracy bonus will not going to help you when you cast a chill fog or a fireball or a gaze of a dragon. It's not going to affect any of your spells. Okay, so yeah, depending upon what kind of wizard you are going to build, you might find survival useful. Okay, what other skills we have? Athletics. Yeah, athletics is also an important skill, and it's a skill which every member in your party will need to put some points on, because athletics gives you a ability called second wind, which you can use once per combat encounter, and it will help you heal some endurance. And how much you heal scales with your athletics. So the more points you put in it, the more powerful the heal is going to be. And you can only heal yourself. You cannot use this ability to heal someone else. So it's a very useful spell, very useful ability. Uh, if you are a frontline, if you're on frontline, then you will need some high athletics just so that you can heal yourself. At late game, it's not going to be that effective, but at early to mid game, this will help to keep you alive just a few more seconds. Because if enemies are attacking your wizard, he's going to die unless he has his buffs. So this second win ability will buy you enough time to recast your buffs and get away from your enemies. Also, there are a lot of athletics checks in the game. These normally involve scripted encounters where you're trying to climb a wall or something like that. And if you fail these encounters, you're going to get injured, which will last until your rest. So you will need some athletics on everybody in your party to because when you are doing the scripted encounters, each party member will get checked for their athletics, and whoever has low athletics will get injured. So you will want some points in athletics. The highest you will want for the scripted interactions is 7 athletics. So give every member in your party 7 athletics, and you will be able to pass all the athletics checks in the game. There is no athletics checks greater than 7. Okay, so athletics is a must for every character. Okay, get athletics 7, and 7 athletics gives you a very like a decently powerful heal ability at 7 athletics. And on your tank, if I might like if you're bringing either, I might put a few more points into athletics, bump it up to like a 9 or a 10. But for the rest of your party, 7 athletics is what you want. That's the number you're aiming for. Okay, lower, lower, lower. So that's all the things. So to summarize, 11 lore will unlock all the lore related dialogues for you. Uh, 14 mechanics will let you unlock every door, dissolve every trap, and find every hidden object. Uh, Survival, just boost it as per your needs. Like it's a very good ability, very good skill to focus on if you are using weapon attacks. So max it out if you are using weapons. And what was the other one? Athletics, you need 7 to pass every check. Stealth is complete garbage. Ignore it. Like unless you are playing solo, just stealth is trash in this game. Okay, I can remember maybe one ability check for stealth. It rarely ever comes, and even that I believe is in the White Mods DLC, not in the base game. So stealth is completely garbage. Don't put any points instead. Uh, I am going to go with high lore because I want to unlock the dialogue options. There are some really good dialogue options for lore. So my target with this character is to get lore 11 and athletics 7, and then we'll see what else we need at that time. So I'm going to start with lore, high lore aristocrat, give some +2 lore, merchant, explorer. There is no, okay, yeah, low. So +2 lore, yeah, we'll go with mystic. You have never been able to explain how the universe guide your path behind every task you take is a feeling of cosmic direction. Okay, who are kind of like a uh, uh, there is a mystical, like a mystic means you have some kind of a divine entity guiding your path, some kind of thing. It's not big deal. Maybe one or two dialogue options might vary, but these or none of these backgrounds really make much impact on your gameplay. So yeah, just I'm going to go a bit low for plus. Uh, yeah, your appearance is, yeah, this is just cosmetic. Just put whatever you want here. Uh, he looks fine. Mm, okay, that's fine. Let's give him some pale skin. I think that's fine. You will find it very hard to make a face that actually matches what you have in the portrait because you have very few options here. POE2 greatly improves on this, but in Pillars of Eternity 1, the characters that you can make, there are very few options to make a decent looking character. So,
Yeah?
yeah, let's make him a cocky asshole kind of a character. Again, this voice.
I shall lead us.
Let's go!
Well, I'll lead the way.
Yeah, these are just one or a couple of lines your character will shout every now and then in the middle of combat or when you go into stealth or something like that. It's just a funny liners you will say. Not that big of a deal. I like cocky uh, dialogues, but pick whatever you want. Name something that sounds wizardy. Uh, I am really horrible at naming these things, so let's just make him Maze. He's Maze the Maze. That's good enough. So there he is. Okay, Caravan Master finishes the testing group. Is supposed to sagging jaws, quivering hands. I really like these descriptions this game gives for some of the characters here. There are some funny descriptions here that just makes me chuckle.
Everybody stays close to the wagons, got it? Stay out of the woods, and beasts take you if you were planning a stroll through those ruins up there. Whole area's crawling with hut-dwelling types who would be happy to stick an axe in you for trespassing. So mind that you don't track mud on their sacred blazing rocks. Tonight, everybody stays put, and in the morning we'll get the path cleared. Gilded Vale's less than a day out. Understood? Touch of the rumbling rot, could be. There's a stinging beetle round here, carries it. You'll be fine once it passes your innards, unless you don't drink water, course, which case you'll be dead in a day. There's a berry grows in these parts, small and pink, called a springberry, about the size of a fingernail. Give you cramps if you eat it, but the frontiersmen make a tea from it. Calms the insides. Should get you through the night. You might check around, see if you can find some. Meanwhile, I'll see if we can scare you up some water. I know you want to hunt before it gets much darker, but see about refilling our water first. Got a sick one here.
I really like the introduction to Pillars. It's a very simple introduction. You're just going on a wagon and a tree falls over and you're all trapped here for the night and you get fever and you have to go find your own medicine. It's a very simple scenario and it it does a really good job at introducing you to a game, giving you some small personal motivation. Because if you don't find a medicine, you're going to die. So I think it's a very nice introduction. Where would I find these
They grow on
berries?
a bush that's common round here, kind of funny looking. You'll know it when you see it. Doubt you'd have to go far off the road to find one.
Those
Nothing you
tools.
won't see on half the hills of Air Glonfoth. Money to be made selling their knickknacks in Defiance Bay if you don't mind getting stuck with Glonfoth and arrows now and again. They didn't build 'em, but I'll be the effigy if they don't watch 'em like a mother bear. Of course, all the ones around here have been ransacked 10 times over. Got nothing left worth half a pawn, so I hear. Got different names for 'em. Settlers called 'em Ingwithans. Nobody that liked them enough to stop them becoming ruins, tell you that much. Not if you hurry about your business. And not if the weather holds up. This time of year, rain mostly, and wind. But there's a different kind of wind out here time to time. Locals call it a Beawick, born out of the ether, the spirit's path. Never seen it myself, never cared to. They don't got Adra where you come from? Well, it just grows up out of the ground like this. Goes deep like tree roots. Some of it all the way to the heart of the world, you believe the stories. It's more like a shell than a proper rock. Easier to work if you're a mason. Got all kinds of strange properties. Seems to have some kind of life of its own. Dies if it gets dug up. Loses its luster. Folks think it probably grew at one point or another, but not these days. The soul butchers in Defiance Bay use it for different things. I've heard tell it can hold a man's soul, but I don't care to see it. Got enough to worry about without seeing something like that.
All right, I'll go about those berries then.
Hold on. Take someone with you. I know you're not some helpless tenderfoot, not like most of this lot. But you drop dead, I don't want to be looking for the body. Got a schedule to keep. Kalisha. Kalisha!
And I love Kalisha. She's such a great character. She's only with us for just through the prologue, but I really like her.
He needs to find some springberries. Watch that he doesn't drop dead.
No promises.
What kind of guide says something like that?
Kind you can afford.
Don't listen to her. You're in good hands. And I pay too well, if anything. Off with you. Hayadin should have supplies. See that you're equipped before you head out. We're in harsh country. Get your berries and hurry back. And if you get so much as a tickle of wind, you drop everything and you run. Something in the air tonight. If it's a Beawick, we'll shelter in the ruins. Hut dwellers be damned.
You heard the man. Let's get going before you keel over.
All right, here we are. Okay, for those of you that don't know, if you click on tab, it will show you all the clickable items, people and their names and everything in this.
Not a problem.
Yeah, and you can script AI for your companions. So if you select a
Ready when you
character's
are.
portrait, you will see here. Right now, no AI script is selected. Right click for details. Class behavior. I normally suggest you put aggressive for your fighters, because they will use spells like knockdown and discipline barrage, which are probably what you will want. I don't suggest you click the use per rest abilities, because then your casters are going to just use all their spells in a single encounter, and don't enable this use per rest abilities. So just keep this disabled. Auto attack, I suggest aggressive. Otherwise you will have to manually select your companion and make him attack your enemies, which gets really tiresome. So I suggest aggressive for now.
Yeah?
And for our class behavior, we have more options. If you see here, more than Kalisha, because Kalisha is just a fighter, so all she can do is just hit enemies. But we have more, like we can damage, crowd control. So basically, if you have per rest abilities enabled, then your wizard will automatically cast the spells which come under that particular section. I I like to keep, for my casters, I like to keep the class behavior as none, because I want to use the spells as and when they get available. Uh, at later levels, you will get some low level spells which will become per encounter instead of per rush. At that time I will switch to the whatever behavior I want, and I will use that. But at low levels I just keep it to none. And again, I don't like putting using per rush abilities to AI. Class behavior aggressive.
What you
Okay,
need?
talk to Kalisa.
Springberries grow wild all over the place here. Keep your eye out.
And I suggest you check your inventory here, because you might get a couple of items here. The first is a Guan's Pledge. It gives you some healing ability, I believe. Yeah, 2 per rest, 15 endurance. It's a fast cash. It's a decent heal at low levels. I suggest you equip it. And yeah, miniature space. This is a pet. You have a lot of pets in the game, but pets doesn't really do anything. Unless in Pillars 2 they will give you some buffs, but in Pillars 1 they are just there, to look good. You can just put them here and you will just have a tiny miniature space piglet roaming you around. uh, this is just a kind of like a call out to an old Baldur's Gate companion. For those of you, those who played the Baldur's Gate might recognize this, but yeah. Kalisha, she has a torch. Yeah, let her keep it. Alright. Let's pull this up so we can see the log clearly.
Not a problem.
And here, if you see, right, if you mouse over any locked container, it will automatically show you what is the. You will see on the left side you have mechanics 0, 1, 2, and on right you see lockpicks 3, 1, 0. So basically it tells you at which mechanics level how many lockpicks you need to open this. So if my character had mechanics 2, I wouldn't need any lockpicks to open this, but you can see the 2 is in red, so I don't have that. I only have 1 in mechanics, which means I need 1 lockpick, but I don't have any
I'll have this
lockpicks
open
right
in no
now.
time.
Yeah, I don't have any lockpicks. So let's just come here. There's another container here which will have some lockpicks for you. Yeah, and some clothing, which is fine, whatever. And now let's open this.
That'll do it.
And we have a healing potion here. So it gives plus 50 endurance. I suggest you will want to equip your potions, whatever potions you want in your quick items, because in middle of combat you will not be able to access your stash or your inventory and equip items. You will only be able to use items which you have put here in quick items, and the weapons, whatever you have put in weapon sets, you will not be able to change this mid combat. So I suggest you before you go into a combat, just make sure that you have whatever potions you want in the quick items and whatever weapons you want to use in your weapon sets.
Ready when you are.
You can swap between the two weapon sets you have, but you cannot be able to change what weapons you have equipped at the middle of the
Just
combat.
say the word.
Okay, so suggest we go this way. If I remember correctly, there is supposed to be some good loot here. Let's increase the speed. Yeah, fast mode. For those that don't know, if you click D, your character will run faster. If you click S, they will run slower. Again, if you click it again, it will go to normal speed. What is this? Fallen tree. Okay.
Not looking forward to trying to lift that thing tomorrow.
So the tree is fallen there. We are trapped here. Awesome. Yeah, we have Heodon
Anyone need
here.
supplies? I've got sundries for sale.
So he is our starting trader. He will become a temporary companion and a rogue. Okay, well, let's see. You see a man wearing mostly neat clothes is transferred onto that.
Brought a whole wagon full of goods to sell, but not enough shirts for the road. Say, is there anything you need? I've got some basic traveling supplies for sale if you'd like to take a look. I'm a trader, originally from the Adir Empire, but I've been trying to establish new business out here. Life on the road has brought some unexpected challenges, to be sure. And I'm sure you've noticed how prickly the locals can be. But we're here to make the most of things, right?
Okay, so if you see here, some of the dialogue options in the brackets, you will see something like passionate, clever, cruel. So these are like various dispositions your character can have, like what kind of character you want to build, what is their personality. So you, by selecting these options, you can build your character's reputation in that particular you can build your character's personality, and people will react to your character differently based upon what your dispositions are. If you have really high clever, if you are really high benevolent disposition, people might actually come to you, ask for help. Like there will be some minor dialogue changes. It's yeah, as you go on, you will want to if you have high disposition in any particular type, like if you have really high clever, then you will get unique dialogues which you will not be able to see unless you have that particular disposition. So you will need to focus on a couple of dispositions to increase them as fast as possible. It doesn't matter. There are a few dispositions which have high number of dialogues and few which don't have that much, but this is more for role playing. Not there's not it's not going to break your character if you make a cruel character or a clever character. It's just the kind of character you want to build. In this, we are going to let's go for a clever, smart mode, jerk kind of a guy. I'm planning to build with this character, so I'm just going to go with clever. Quickly watch it first.
Something else you need? It's not as big as it used to be, but it's still big. The mainland is a continent northwest of here, but the colonies used to include Raed Ceres and the Deerwood. About 150 years ago, Deerwood won its independence from the Empire, a fact our companions are quick to remind me of. Because it seemed friendlier than Raed Ceres? My brothers took over the family mercantile business a few years ago, and there wasn't enough for me to do back home. I moved out to try and expand.
Okay, that's how. Well, all right. That's enough talking to him for now. Obsidian has this problem where they dump a lot of lore and exposition on players right at the beginning. It makes playing through their games for the first time a very confusing aspect. They have the same problem with Pillars 2 and with Tyranny. Like
I'll have your water soon enough.
they'll just throw a
Stream's not
lot of
going anywhere.
names and events at you which you have absolutely no context for yet. So it's one of my pet
We shouldn't
peeves
stray
with
too far.
Obsidian games. I just really wish they have better.
Let's check by those outcroppings.
There are a couple of wolves here, so let's just sneak
Stay
around and start a combat with Kalista so that they will all aggro her. Okay,
What you need?
let's just send her in. Alright. Now let's bring our guy here and attack. Okay. If you see here, we have an ability here called Arcane Assault. This is it's twice per encounter. It does 10 to 16 raw damage. Raw damage means it ignores enemies' armor and damage resistance. It dazes an enemy, which gives a -10 to accuracy and attack speed by -15. It's not that powerful of a debuff, but it's a decent debuff, and it's twice per encounter, so that's really good. And you can hotkey kind of abilities or potions or whatever. There are only two hotkey buttons, Q and W. Just mouse over an ability and click on Q, and you will see here Q. You don't have many hotkeys here, but yeah, it helps you when you have a lot of abilities, to quickly cast something. Okay, so if you see, when I mouse over here, you will see two circles coming. So the inner yellow, bright yellow circle is the actual radius of the spell, and the transparent outer circle, you see, right? That's the increased area of effect which I got because of my high intelligence. Okay, if I didn't have high intelligence, the inner bright circle, that's the only area in which the spell will be cast. Because I have increased intelligence, I am able to affect more area, which means I will be hitting more enemies. And if the spell is yellow in color, which means it's party friendly, you can happily chug it, and it will not. It will affect only enemies alone. But if you look at something like Chill Fog, it has a red circle. If you see, right, if the red circle hits your enemy allies, then they will take damage from that spell as well. From the yellow circle, they won't take any damage. If you see, right, as soon as the red circle hits Kalisa, she kind of becomes highlighted, telling you that this spell is going to affect her. We don't want to blind Kalisa now, so we'll just cast an Arcane Assault on these two wolves. Okay, and let's unpause the game. And if you see here, right, when I mouse over an enemy, you can see stats displayed on the left hand top. So it will tell you its defenses, what are the status effects on it. Okay, but if you see some of the different stats there are mentioned as question mark, that's because you have to kill enemies to unlock bestiary about them. Basically, as you kill more and more enemies, a particular enemy, you will unlock more and more of its stats, which means you will be able to find out what are its lower defenses, what are its highest defenses, and you will be able to use spells and abilities according to that. At low levels, when you're fighting an enemy for the first time, you will not be knowing much about it. But for example, as I keep killing more and more wolves, I will be able to fill up the bestiary, and I will be able to unlock more and more information about them, which will help me in knowing which spell to cast and what. Okay, for example, if you look at here, this has 29 deflection, 37 fortitude, 31 reflex, and 25 will. Its lowest defense is 25, so if I have some spells or something which affect will, then I will have a greater chance of landing that on this wolf instead of something that targets fortitude, which it has a higher fortitude, so there is a higher chance that the wolf will resist it. So as you play the game, just keep a lookout every time. Just mouse over the enemy and see what their stats are and what are the best spells to use on them.
You better run!
And another thing you can see here is, as Kalisa keeps taking damage, her health is constantly increasing. That's because fighters will have a ability here called constant recovery, which for the first 40-45 seconds of the combat, they will constantly be generating endurance every 3 seconds. This scales with the might and their intelligence, so this helps your fighters. This helps fighters in surviving combat at low levels. At high levels, fighters are not the best tanks. They are decent tanks. Your best tanks in the game are paladins, but at low to mid levels, this constant recovery will help your fighters, survive long battles. And at low levels, it's a great ability for your fighters at low levels. At high levels, this will, you won't even notice it anymore at high levels, but at low levels, this is really good. It helps your fighters stay alive a bit longer.
Yeah?
Right. So I suggest you store your items in stash. There is
Not a
unlimited
problem.
stash in this, so you can hoard your horse
This is it.
content. Yeah, here is the cure for our fever. Yeah, here Kalisa is going to ask you some questions based upon what background you pick. It doesn't really matter. This is just for your role playing to help you build your character. This doesn't really have any gameplay effect. Just pick whatever sounds cool to the character that you make. Had you are kind of a spiritual sort. I get visions from time to time. Do guide my way. Okay. So there's always going to be two questions here. One, something about your background, and two, why are you on the wagon? So it's a really, it's a good way for you to get some background story on your character. I had a vision that sent me here. So basically, this Lord Redrick guy, he's apparently offering free land to anybody who want to settle. We'll see why more, because there is some really horrible things going on in this place, which is causing a huge population decline. So yeah, it's a hard offer to pause up. Settle here and start a new life. So if you want, you can select some of these to find out what Kalisa is, what she is. So she's basically someone who traveled from place to place, and she's coming here to check up on her sister. Okay, so her sister lives in the Deerwood, the place where we are traveling, and she was worried about something. She was pregnant, and she asked her sister to come visit her. Uh, we don't know why. We'll meet her later, but yeah, basically, it will just give you more insight into, what kind of village Deerwood is, what the current situation is. So, all right, let's go now. We have to find some water for our medicine. There are a couple of plants here. You might want to pick them up. They're useful in crafting and enchanting. This game doesn't have a very elaborate enchanting mechanics or crafting mechanics, but it has some decent stuff. I think there is supposed to be some armor here. Ah, yeah, here it is. A dead guy, and yeah, some armor here. Leather armor. Right. Now, before you cross the bridge, there is. I suggest you go back to Heodon, the rogue merchant we met earlier, and sell whatever stuff you have collected so far for some nice coin.
Something else you need?
Let's see what you got. So let's open our stash. We have some clothing, leather armor, couple of wolf pelts. Don't sell any alchemical ingredients because you will want them. Just trade. And he sells some decent starting weapons and armor here. So if you're not happy with your starting gear, you might want to pick something from here. Some better armor, being able to get a brigand in with a heavy armor at level 1, it's going to be very useful for you. Like, it will greatly increase your survivability, but be careful when wearing armor, because the heavier armor you wear, the slower you get your spell casting. Like your attacks, everything gets slow. The delay between your attacks gets slow. You will take a lot of time to kill your enemies. So if you want your damage dealers normally at low to light or medium armor, and your tanks in heavy armor. Yeah, right. Let's go. There is our water.
What a surprise. Sparfle went hunting. At least he left the water skins. Come on.
I really like these kind of scripted interactions because often it will give you like skill checks that you have to pause, and it tells a small story. It's kind of reminds me of the old text-based adventures. I really like this kind of stuff here.
Sparfle? Are you all right? Ambush!
Alright, we're ambushed. Now, if you look at the enemy positions here, there is one guy here and there's another person here. Now, this guy is a ranged archer. And if you mouse over this person, you can see my character's this green circle is blinking, which means he is currently targeting my character. And he is also targeting my character. Now your wizards are very squishy.
Ready
You
when you
don't
are.
want them targeting your wizard. So if you are playing a spellcaster or a squishy character like a rogue or a cipher or something, unless you are like a tank, like a barbarian, fighter, paladin, unless you are those hard-hitting melee characters, I suggest we move your squishy to the back line and let Kalisha go and engage this guy. Now, as you can see here, right? Oh, he's still targeting me. Go.
Not a
Come
problem.
over here. Yeah. Now both of them are targeting Kalisha. So now we can freely attack them. So managing enemy engagement like this is very important if you want to survive, because often enemies will try to focus on your squishies, characters that are wearing low armor, have low defenses. So this is not like a Dragon Age where your fighters can go in, throw a taunt, and kind of hit
on, we
like
have to get
attract
back to
all
camp.
enemy attention. It's not going to work like that. Your frontline characters can only engage a limited number of enemies, and even if enemies are engaged, if your backline is doing a lot of damage, or if they don't have high defenses here, they're wearing low armor, enemies are going to break engagement from your front line and they're going to attack your backlines. So you have to be very careful at managing enemy engagement, and that's one of the places where Wizard's crowd control abilities will become very handy. We'll see in a few moments. Okay. Now there is a scouting mode, stealth. I suggest wherever you go, you enable stealth mode, because right now you see, right, if I'm like, we can only see one bottle here to loot, but if I enter stealth mode, I suddenly detected this bag here. That's because your mechanics get a boost when you are in stealth mode for detecting items. Okay, so I suggest wherever you go, you move in stealth mode so that you can find all the extra loot. Like for example, here we have a gun and some hat. This is a very crappy gun at the beginning, but once you enchant it, and because it has a enchantment here called terrible, which reduces its accuracy and damage, which is horrible. But once you put any enchantment on this will go away, making this a very decent early to mid game pistol if you are trying to build a character that focuses on guns. Guns are not that good in this game, especially at late game, because At late game, you will have so many speed buffs that your bows will do a lot more damage than guns at late game, because guns hit really fast, but really hard, but very slow. So at early games they're good, but at late game they kind of fall away. So let's send Calicia in to draw aggro. Yeah. Okay, we have 3 enemies here, so let's throw a. We have 2 fighter, 2 tanks here, and 1 archer. So let's throw a spell from our wizard. Let's use chill fog. Let's just blind everybody. Okay, and just see how quickly they die once I cast chill fog. They just take a lot of damage. Alright, if you can actually go to the log here and you can see what is happening. Here it says mage cast chill fog. I interrupted some guy, and yeah. So yeah, if you crit someone, which means the damage you are going to do, whatever status effect you have, all of them get boosted by 50%. Like if you see, if I hit this guy, second guy, he does 12 freeze damage and blinded him for 4.2 seconds. But the first guy whom I crit, he did 19 freeze damage and blinded him for 6.3 seconds. So how crit happens is, you attack an enemy, your enemy will roll kind of like, let me show you the roll here. Yeah, so this spell chill fog targets enemies fortitude. So it says my accuracy is 41 and enemy's fortitude is 29. So the difference is 12. So now I roll on a 100, and I roll a number between 1 to 100. Here I rolled 89. And add the 12 difference to that number, and if that is more than 100, it crits. If it is between 50 to 100, it hits and does normal damage. If it is I believe it's less than 50, it is grace, which does 50% less damage and 50% less duration. I don't remember what the miss is, but if the roll is really low, you will completely miss and do nothing. This is how all attacks, spells, everything work. Your accuracy versus whatever defense that attack is targeting. You take the difference, you roll a number between the random number between 1 to 100, you add that difference, and based upon what the roll is, you will get either a hit, crit, graze, or a miss. This is how the combat normally goes, and this is why you want to buff your accuracy very much. If you at late game enemies, some of the bosses will have really ridiculous defenses, and unless you have very high accuracy, you will not be able to do any damage to them. You will not be able to hit them with any spell. You will not be able to do anything to them. So you need a high accuracy on Path of the Damned difficulty. At lower difficulties, it's whatever, but POTD, it really buffs enemy stats, so you need to have accuracy for that. Now, if you see, there is a black circle going on around this enemy's head, which means he is blinded. Yeah, he is blinded, and he tried to hit Kalisa. Okay, and if you see, it says accuracy 14. So his accuracy is very greatly lowered because he got blinded. And this guy is going to hit slowly. He's going to not do much damage to Kalisa, but we can hit him really hard and do a lot of damage to him. Like, right, once more. This guy is almost dead, so no need to waste our spell on him. Let's go and hit this guy. Now if you see, just Kalisa entered the chill fog area and she just got blinded. I grazed her because I rolled at 31 and less than 50, so I grazed her and she got blinded for 2.1 second. Okay. Let's just move her out of the chill fogs area. So yeah, be careful when you're using any spells that cause friendly fire. Okay, We have a big fight coming on. Let's save this. Save. Alright, everybody is dead. It's all corpses. Ooh, fun times. Again, if you see here, you have different options depending upon what kind of character you want to build. Uh, I suggest, if you are playing this, just read the various options, because depending upon what option you select here, there are multiple results. Like for example, this guy here, he has our Heodan here as a kind of a captive. Okay, he's threatening us with Heodan. Depending upon how you respond to him, he could either kill Heodan, or Heodan can escape from him, or Heodan can escape from him but gets injured. There are like in this game you will constantly find situations where depending upon your dialogue choices, the results will vary. So if you're going to pick a dialogue choice, just read what is actually there on the options, and you have to think about the other person, like what kind of character you are trying to interact with. And you kind of have to, it's not just like a Fallout game where you see like a speech 33% and you select it and it's okay, you have persuaded the guy, you're good to go. It's not like that. Okay, it depends upon your disposition, it depends upon your skills, and it also depends upon what kind of character the other person is, because you can pick up a unique dialogue that you got because of your disposition, that you have unlocked because of your skills, but that dialogue option might actually make him kill Hyoden. Okay, so let's just go through the options here. He's asking us to disarm, while kill us either way. Why make it easy? So each time the guy responds to your dialogue option, you will get an idea of what kind of person he is. Pick next dialogue options accordingly. Like here, this guy is kind of like threatening, but he's also he's trying to play the cool badass kind of stereotype. Where he is happy to monologue to you, but he's trying to be tough. So you have to kind of pick and choose the options depending upon the situation, instead of just picking whatever is whichever is has a special uh, option next to it. It's not going to work always. So it is. Okay, so if you see here, right, we have an option like your courage is a mask, or you can kill him, but you might as well be killing. So, or if you put your weapon down, they are going to, like, you can put your weapons down, but he is going to disarm you and they are going to attack you anyway, and you're going to be in a crappy situation. If you just say, I'm not going to put your weapons down, then he will just kill Hyodan and he is going to attack you. Like you have to judge. I let's try to rationalize with him, because these guys, like, if you have played the game before, you will know that these Glanfortons are kind of like zealots who believe these runes are kind of like a sacred grounds for their gods, and it's their duty to kill anybody who enters the god. So they're kind of like religious zealots. So trying to use our intellect and trying to argue and confuse with him by using his own religion against him, it would be effective against him. So let's try and use that option. For those of you that don't know, Galavan is a badass god, hunter god. I really like him. He's all about survival of the fittest and hunting. It's a very violent god, not evil, but violent and chaotic. I really like the gods in this game. They have very nice flavor to each and every one of them. Yeah, we were able to distract him, and Hyoden uses the movement and he escapes. Now Hyoden is going to join us, and we will kill them all. So let's just chill for their ass. All right. Now
How can I
Hyoden
help?
is a rogue, so which means he's going to do bonus damage to anyone affected by status effects like blinded, and we have a really great option of blinding everybody with our chill fog, so that's going to greatly increase Hyoden's damage. But let's use this ability Hyoden has to blind the leader so that he will not immediately murder Hyoden, and we'll have some time for us to intervene. Let's send Kalisa here,
Yeah?
and let's pull our guy back so that we don't aggro anybody. Alright. So everybody is engaged. Now let's cast Chill Fog. At low levels, you're not going to cast any spell except Chill Fog. Okay, every fight is just Chill Fog, Chill Fog, Chill Fog until you get more spell slots and higher level. Okay. Because, ooh, no. Elisa, come on. If you just see, like, Kalisa kind of ran away behind him, and she was in the area of effect of the spell, and she would have gotten murdered if she stayed there. So let's put her here.
Just say the word.
Alright. Everybody got hit, and all these 4 enemies are blinded, which means they're all going to do like crap damage to us. And because Hyoden is a rogue, he's going to get a massive plus 50% sneak attack damage against all of them. Okay, so we are going to murder them. Let's throw an Arcane Assault here. Kalisa, why do you keep running into chill force? This is a problem with your party will keep running into your AoEs constantly.
Get inside! Run!
Oh, our pig is still there. It's going to get killed. Pets in this game are dumb. I mean, they're just cosmetic, they don't get affected by anything, but they're really dumb. You can be killing each other all around it, and it will not even bat an eye. Okay, Hyoden is trials behind, slowed by injury, blah blah blah. Okay, so again in scripted interactions you will again get choices like this. So right now our guy, somebody is attacking our Hyoden and he's not able to climb after us. So you have an option of either helping Hyoden or letting him free on his own. If you just leave him to break free on his own, he's going to die. So that you will not be having Hyoden in your party for the rest of the prologue dungeon. So yeah, there are some choices which have real consequences in this game. This is one of the reasons why I love Pillars of Eternity, because the choices in this actually matter. Not all of them are world changing choices, but within the context of the quest or within the context of the choice that you make, they have some real consequences. So let's try to save Hyoden because he's a rogue, he has great damage, and we need him to pick locks and disarm traps. Channel a bolt of energy towards the attacker. So my bolt of energy apparently is a sword because these images remain same no matter what form of attack you pick. If you are some other character with high dexterity, it would give you an option of throwing a rock at him, or if you have a melee weapon, it shows option of throwing the weapon or shooting an arrow. But no matter what you choose, the image is always going to be the same. But it's kind of funny that I channel a bolt of arcane energy and he got stabbed by a sword. There are some really like I love this about the game. Yeah. And obviously they improved greatly on this in the Pillars 2 because they have a higher budget. They have better scripted interactions, but for the budget they have, they did a really good job here. All right, we are all running into a ruin. Ah,
Was that?
A Bewick. Had to be.
Then we're lucky to be alive.
And we're the only ones.
We can't stay here. There could be another collapse. We're not getting out that way anyway. Let's get further inside.
all right, let's set
How can I help?
Herodan's AI. Class behavior, we want him aggressive to use skills like crippling strike, blinding strike, all those things. And we want auto attack also to be aggressive because we want him to attack enemies without us always prompting him. And let's go and okay, I'll take the potion, I'll take the lockpicks. I like rogues ranged unless I myself am playing a rogue, because melee rogues require a lot of micromanagement. And if I'm playing a rogue, that's fine, but if I am playing someone else and I don't want to babysit a companion character, so I'm just going to give him a bow and let him sit back and shoot from there. I think he has, yeah, he starts with 3 mechanics, which is the best starting bonus you can have, +3 at level 1. This is where rogues can reach high mechanics faster than any of the other classes. Second wind is the ability you get from athletics, a self heal once per encounter, and yeah, sneak attack. This is a really powerful ability, which means whenever your rogue is attacking anybody who is affected by these afflictions, blinded, flanked, hobbled, paralyzed, blah 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 blah. Okay, basically any debuff is going to do 50% damage, whether from melee or range. This is very powerful on dual wielding melee rogues, because dual wielding rogues will have ridiculously fast attacks. So they are going to just tear apart single targets with ease if you manage to land a status of debuff on the enemy. But ranged rogues are also good. They get a solid +50% bonus damage. It's not as powerful as a melee, but in terms of weapon attacks, your ranged DPS is never going to match a dual wielder's DPS. The dual wielders can attack really fast, and when you have weapons which have on-hit effects like paralyze someone on hit or stun someone on hit, okay, so those dual wielding characters are going to rack up a lot of damage. But ranged are decent, and more importantly, you don't have to babysit ranged characters. So let's keep him as a ranged for now.
Not a problem.
Let's go. What is this?
That should be far enough. But what now?
We look for another way out. Storm has to die sometime.
So you can just ask some more questions about what happened. So basically, these guys called Glanfathans, who don't like anybody who enters these ruins called Engwithan ruins. So basically, these Engwiths are a long civilization that has gone extinct, and the Glanfathans are kind of like the guardians of their places. And if you enter an Engwithan ruin, they will come and kill you. Yeah. but people keep going into the ruins because there are old artifacts that are very useful. So people will constantly go into these ruins and try to steal them. It's a really, I like this very much about the lore. It has a lot of political kind of a background going on, wars between both the civilizations. But the problem is again, Obsidian dumps all this right from the beginning and really confuses the player when they're playing it for the first time. So this is the map. I suggest you immediately go this side because there is a you can find some rations there which will let you rest. Because if you
Just say
see
the word.
here, all our spells no users left if you mouse over, because level 1 you can only cast 2 spells, level spells, before you have to rest. So once I rest I will get both my spells back, and to rest you need camping supplies. You can see that, you can see here camp, this small fireplace icon. This button is used for camping and currently you have 0 resources, which means you will not be able to rest. So you need to find some resources, and there
Not a
are
problem.
some here on the left hand side. The
Wonder who was
starting
here.
areas have a lot
See
of
if they left anything useful behind.
resting supplies. So they just throw it at you. Yeah, here it is. Camping supplies. And we have a mace. Maces are good at low levels because they ignore enemy portion of enemy's damage reduction. So let's just put that in main hand. Let that give it to Kalisa. Okay, we have torch. Okay, yeah, we have a shield, small shield, whatever. Let's just rest. Okay, if you see here, Kalisa has an option here for damage reduction. That's because she has some survival skill. As a fighter, she starts with +2 survival. So she has 2 options here to she can select when she rests. One, the first option gives her +1 damage reduction. Second option, 20% healing receive. And this bonus will last again until she rests the next time. So for the rest of the dungeons, she will have this bonus. At low level, the plus damage reduction is very useful because you won't have a powerful armor yet. You won't be having any heavy armor yet. So this will be useful. But by mid game, damage reduction kind of falls off. And here you see something called racial accuracy bonus. That's what you want with your survival skill. You have to keep points into survival to buff this as much as possible. So at 1 survival, you get this, 2 this, 3, 4, 5, 6. At survival level 6, you get damaged. Now, if you increase survival to 7, you will get a buff to damage reduction. But these will remain like kind of like these bonuses are like tires. So you have damage reduction 1, damage reduction 2, damage reduction 3, and if you put just 1 point in survival, you will get the tier 1 damage reduction. If you put 6 points and unlock all of this, and then you again increase survival by 1, you will get the second tier of this. If you improve survival by again, you will get the second tier of heal multiplier. So on and so on. Each time you improve survival, the next bonus here will get a boost. So that's why if you if you are a character, you're a DPS character who is going to attack with weapons like your rogues, ciphers, monks, you will need to buff survival as much as possible to ridiculous levels so that you will get a very high accuracy bonus. Okay, but for now let's just select damage reduction here and let's click on rest. Character is resting, and let's see. Yeah, if you see here, right, I have 2 level 1 spells now, so I can cast any of these spells twice.
Ready when you are.
And all my health that I have lost will be gone. Whatever injuries I have suffered will have gone away. Now let's just go and get through this dungeon. So Exoribs. Exoribs are kind of these small reptile-like creatures. They're basically kobolds from Dungeons and Dragons. That's what they are. And this one here is kind of like standing guard to it. You can kill it and take whatever it's guarding, but if you don't want to kill it, there is an option. There is a kind of a uh, hidden quest here where you can go and fetch some meat to this guy, and he kind of becomes your friend and lets you loot whatever you want. So we'll do that. Let's not be murder hobos here. So okay, I won't hurt you. Now I backed away from here. If I continue to go forward, he is going to attack me. Zorup is not that hard of a enemy. You can easily kill him in like a couple of seconds. But if you don't want to kill him, ignore this area for now. Let's just go here.
Look at the tiles. What are those symbols?
Okay, so these are all traps. This entire area is trapped, but right now we can't see it. Let's select Heoden. He has the highest mechanics. Let's enter him into scout mode.
They'll never know I'm here.
He can detect traps. That's why I said always
say the word.
keep your characters in
Quiet.
scout mode wherever you go, so that they will be able to detect this kind of stuff. Now, there are multiple ways of doing this puzzle. I just prefer here and disabling everything because that gives me some nice XP here. But there is a
Worth a look.
clue in the next room where you can go and kind of figure this puzzle out and disable the traps. That is a very simple puzzle, but I just like disabling all this manually. Each disable gives me like a 15 XP or something. It's nice at low levels. It's not going to give you a level up or anything, but it's a nice XP boost. Yeah.
Found something.
Right.
Not a problem.
Let's keep on scouting and let's go.
Those symbols. Just like the tiles.
If you look at this wall, it basically says, it shows a image of people walking, carrying a flame in their hands. So what you have to do is, if you have a torch here, equip the torch into one of your characters, interact these pillars, you get the option to light the braziers here. If you do that and light all the pillars, the traps will be disabled. Some of the traps will be disabled, and it will show you which traps are disabled, so that you can just walk through the pot. Anyway, we have already disabled all the traps using Heoden, so this doesn't do much for us. Let's
quiet.
scout. I believe there are a couple of enemies here. Yeah. So let's send Kalisa first. Okay, she took a lot of damage if you see here, because these do as corrode damage. So it's sorry,
Not a problem.
I forgot to equip the wand.
Quick! Toss me something else!
It's like when I tried to hit it with Arcane Assault and daze it, it said immune. So if you mouse over this enemy, you can see on the left hand top, it says immune to a whole bunch of status effects. So when you're trying to put some crowd control on enemies, make sure that your enemy is not actually immune to it, or you will just be wasting your spells. A lot of high level enemies will have a whole bunch of immunities to them. Okay, so you have to be careful with that. Okay, nice two-handed weapon.
What's that muck on the wall?
I don't like two-handed weapons that much because dual wielding can do more damage, but two-handers are great as well. Oh, okay. We missed an item here. If we have that, then we will be able to unlock a secret room here, which will give us some nice loot. Let's go and do that. Yeah, here he is. Yeah, Ingvitan relief gem. We need that to unlock the door. Oh, let's go back. Yeah, place the gem in the eye socket.
Quick and quiet. Just giving them a fair shot.
Yep. Here it is. We have a nice cloak which gives us some defenses. Okay, let's put it on.
Do you feel that? There's a draft coming through that wall. I don't hear any sound.
Just giving them a fair shot.
Kali said there's a lot of damage and blew that spider TTP bits. Crits have the ability to kind of make your enemies explode.
Yeah?
It's always fun. Let's just
I could
They'll
scout
never know
ahead.
I'm here.
See what's around the corner.
okay, Skuldurs. Skuldurs at low levels, these are dangerous enemies because they can stun you. Yeah. When you are stunned, your defenses are very low and you can't do anything. So you have to be careful. Okay, let's kind of use our staff. So let's if you see, this guy broke the engagement and is coming after my wizard. So you have to be prepared for those kind of situations where enemies can just randomly ignore the front line and charge your back line, because enemies are kind of smart in this. But my staff will do a lot of damage. See, even on a graze it does 21 damage, and it actually healed me for 4 endurance, which is nice. Let's hit again, and he is dead. Like I said, the staff is
Not a
powerful at low
problem.
levels.
Death to our enemies. Yeah?
Yeah. Melee wizards can be very fun in this game, but after a certain point they kind of get boring, because it's all like catching the same buffs and just hitting and conjuring the same weapons, and it's just the same thing again and again, and you kind of get bored by melee wizards. I prefer a wizard who kind of casts a bunch of spells, because there will be some
You better run! Ready when you are.
chunk. This time Theoden did it. Yeah, Skuldur Mid. You are seeing here, right? This is, if you
Not a
take this
problem.
now to the Xorib there and give it to him as a peace offering, he will kind
Wait.
of let us loot
Do you hear that?
all the stuff here. Give Skuldur Mid to the creature. It just gave its spear to us, and at lower levels spears are very useful. Spears, daggers, because they get a +5 accuracy, which will help you in hitting the enemies. And because spears are one-handed, you can actually Yeah. Put two spears into your both your hands, and you get a nice accuracy buff. At high levels, they're kind of whatever, but low levels, they're good. All right. Had his food. Now let's go get out of this. Okay, let's
I'll go on
eat
ahead.
and send Kelisa first because there's some spiders here. And these spear spiders will hit really hard. Okay, they can easily kill your wizard in a couple of hits. The tiny ones are whatever, but the bigger ones, spear fighters, they hit really hard. You have to be very careful with them. Let's throw a chill fog here.
Ah, thank.
Alright. Now they're all
I
blinded,
meant to do that.
which means your enemies will be able to hit it with sneak attack and it's dead. Blind is really good. I love blind. Rapier. What else we have here?
Oathbinder, bear witness, and see this man has kept his word true to his last breath, full to his blood's last drop. Guide his soul, queen that was, and regard it among your favored. Let his life by the key be his confession. Let his death by the key be his absolution. May he walk the world ever free of the crushing weight of the book. Your brother has done his part, and you have seen the power of his contribution. I will accept no further hesitation from the rest of you. In the sight of the queen that was, will you fulfill the oath? Will you take your place beside your brother in the endless esteem of her memory that is without flaw? Step forth, and be assured of the great worth of your life's course.
And they're all dead. King just loves to kill everybody. Alright, we just had our first level up. Let's loot the bodies. What a decent armor. Let's put that on our character. I like putting medium scale armor on my wizards because because speed reduction is not that bad and it gives a decent damage reduction. Lets my wizard survive a couple of hits. If I put him in ropes, everybody is going to just beeline him to him and just kill him. So putting him in medium armor will kind of increase its survivability a bit. And we have fatigue. Okay, this icon here, fatigue, if you ever see this icon, just make sure that you rest as soon as possible because fatigue gives horrible debuffs to your accuracy. If you are fatigued, you are not going to be able to hit anybody, kill anybody. Just find some place safe as soon as possible and you rest. Let's level up for now. Alright. So these are all various skills. We are going to focus on lore 11 for our dialogue and athletics 7 to pause all the athletics checks. The rest of them are irrelevant to our character. Okay, let's increase athletics. If you see here, right, to increase athletics from 0 to 1, we only need 1 point. But from 1 to 2, you need 2 points. One more level up, you need 3 points. So the higher you get the skill, the more points you're going to require. That's why getting plus 4 in character creation to any skill is incredibly useful because no, it's 4, but to improve it to 4, I don't need to put 5. I don't need to put 5 points in it. I only need to put 1 point in it because the bonuses doesn't count towards level up. Which means if you have a skill that you want to get to really high levels like lore or mechanics, which you need want to get to 14 to be able to pick everything, getting that initial boost means you will be able to max out that skill much faster and for for much less skill points than it would take you otherwise. Like if I want to get athletics all the way to say level 14, from 0 to 14, it's going to take me a whole bunch of athletics skill points because to improve a skill from 13 to 14, it's going to take 14 skill points, which means you need 3 level ups worth of skill points because each level up will only give you 6. So 3 level ups, you will get 18 skill points. Then you will have enough to improve your mechanics from 13 to 14. I have 1 in mechanics, which means if I have to improve mechanics from 13 to 14, I don't need to put 14 points in it. I only need to put uh, 13 points, which means I only need to get it to level 13. I don't need to get it to 14 because this buff is going to kind of add on top of that. So by starting with 1 mechanics, I'm saving 14 skill points. And if a rogue can start with 3 mechanics, which means he can save 39 skill points in maximizing mechanics to 14 if he starts with 3 mechanics. So if you know what skills you want to focus on, what skills you want to get to the highest, make sure you pick a origin and a background that will give you the maximum bonuses to a particular skill. Here I want my lore is the highest skill that I'm targeting for at level 11 and I have 4 levels already in it, which means I only need to get it to 7. Level 8, level 9, level 10 and level 11 of lore, those skill points are free for me here. Which means I just saved 38 skill points that I can put anywhere else. So when you are starting your character, just make sure that you maximize the bonuses you will get to the highest skill that you want to focus on. Okay. Yeah. Now for now, let's put 3 points in athletics. Always start on level 1 unless you already have bonuses to athletics. I suggest you get it to 3 because there are a couple of athletics skill checks at low level. With some 3 to 4 athletics, you should be able to pass. Okay. So we'll be leveling athletics and lore equally until we get to 7 athletics, and then we are going to dump all our points into lore and get it to 11, and then maybe some into survival. We'll see. But for now, it's just athletics and lore equally we're going to invest. Alright. Now we can pick one more level 1 spell. There's not really that many great level 1 spells. We already picked all the most important ones, which are Chill Fog and Parasitic Staff. We also already have Wizard's Double, so maybe Spirit Shield. Ghost Blades is kind of useful because it's party friendly area of damaging spell. It puts Hobbled. Hobbled is whatever. It targets reflex, which means if you blind your enemies, they're going to have a lower reflex, which means there's a high chance of this actually landing a crit and doing decent damage. But it's not that, like, none of these spells are really all that great. We once you get Chill Fog and Parasitic Staff, the rest of these spells are whatever. Maybe Eldritch Aim plus 15 accuracy for a short duration. Maybe if I want, this could be useful. Now, this move speed and defense against disengaging. This is useful if you are playing a melee wizard or if you are trying to solo. But in a party where your wizard is a backline caster, you're not going to see much use for it. I will take Minolet. I'll just take Minolota's minor missiles for some, if I want, because this is a very fast cast. I can use this to interrupt spellcasters and still do some decent damage. Or I can use this Trust of Tattered Veils. Yeah, this is a very strong interrupt and it has a fast cast and it does a decent crush damage. Let's pick this up. This will be very used in interrupting enemy casts when the enemy wizard or priest are casting any spells. You're not going to see much at low levels, but this will be not useful. Maybe occasionally you, yeah, talents. Now, talents are very important. I think you get a talent every alternative levels. So you can reach a maximum of level 16 in this, which means your character can have 8 talents. And if you see, there are a lot of talents here. Okay, lot of talents. There are way more than 8, but a lot of these talents are very, very crap. So pick and choose the talents very carefully depending upon what you want to build. For a wizard, I always suggest the first talent you pick be Arcane Veil. This can be used 2 per rest, so you're not going to be using it much. It's twice per rest, so you won't be using it in every fight. It's instant cast, which means it's very, very fast. The moment you cast it, you will get it. And it gives a massive plus 50 deflection for 14 seconds. This combined with Wizard's Double will give you 90 deflection. This lasts for 14 seconds and Wizard's Double will last until you are hit. You combine this and Wizard's Double, which gives an instant 90 deflection, which means your overall deflection is going to be more than 100 at level 2. That is massive bonus to deflection. Okay, 100 plus deflection at level 2. Very few enemies can actually hit you. I mean, their spells can still hit you because spells that target reflex, fortitude, or will can still hit you, but any enemy that's attacking you with a weapon, they will be rolling against your deflection. And so fighters, archers, they are not going to be able to hit you at all for 14 seconds. Remember, only for 14 seconds. So if you cast this back to back, you cast this 14 seconds, it goes off, you cast one more again because you get 2 per rest. For 28 seconds, you combine this with Wizard Double, you will have ridiculous amount of deflection, and it will, if you have a Parasitic Staff on top of that, which is actually healing you and which is doing a lot of damage to enemies, you will be tearing through enemies. Like, it's a really good combination. So even if you are a caster wizard who is going to stay at the back and fling spells at enemies, I still suggest you get Arcane Veil. I I don't suggest getting upgrade to this if you're caster, but I suggest getting the base level, because eventually enemies, you're going to fight huge amounts. There are going to be like a half a dozen or dozen enemies that are just going to rush your party, and no matter how much, even if you have three frontline fighters, they are not able to engage everybody. Eventually enemies are going to break and come and attack your back and your wizards and your priests, and this will help your wizards survive just long enough to kill the enemy. So even if you're a caster, I always suggest you get at least Arcane Veil, and improved, or the you can upgrade the Arcane Veil if you want, but at least get the Arcane Veil at level 2. This will really help your survival. You will be using this. I always use Arcane level even at end game when I'm fighting what's the guy named Theos, yeah, discount Thanos. Even then, I will still be using Arcane Veil. It's a very good talent, a very good talent to have. Okay, and that's it for the level up. Okay. All right, that wraps up the tutorial. I think that's enough for this for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and it helped you in how to build your wizard, gave you some idea on building a proper wizard and what kind of spells to use. So let me know what you guys think about in comments, and if you guys want me to make more videos like this, please let me know and I will continue this, and I will record the entire playthrough. And that's it for today. Thank you everyone. Have a nice day.